We explain the other Protestant movements around Europe.
The Reformation had actually begun due to the push from philosophers like Erasmus and John Wycliffe, who had called for church transformation and an English version of the Bible from his teaching at Oxford. A Czech named John Hus had also called for the Bible in vernacular. Both these leaders openly called out corrupt clergy and demanded that people dissent against all rituals led by the corrupt. They called into question how a church member could ever trust penance and forgiveness of sins from the mouths of unrepentant sinners in priest garments. Wycliffe escaped being burned at the stake for heresy. Hus was not so lucky. After Luther's actions at Wittenberg, the fire had been lit and it was too hard to go back. After John Calvin and his Calvinistic belief of predestination, hundreds of Protestant groups sprang to life across Europe. Another Swiss philosopher was Ulrich Zwingli. He preached against the veneration of saints, relics, celibacy of the priesthood, and high communion rituals. He tried to organize a reformed church nation to combat Catholic nations like France and the Holy Roman Empire. He was going to build it from Zurich until he died defending it upon the invasion of a Roman Catholic army who came to liberate Roman Catholics in the land. He had his head crushed by a rock and he was stabbed with spears. Other groups attempted to reform certain rituals of the church. One group, the Anabaptists, did not believe in infant baptism, for instance. To them, true believers were those who volunteered to come to Christ as adults. They believed all members were equal in preaching, except women. They believed in a separation of church and state, and they refused to serve their government in office or war, as defied biblical teachings. They were attacked by both Protestants and Catholics. Today, various parts of their beliefs can be seen in the Baptists, the Amish, and the Mennonites. Protestants as a whole placed the family at the center of life and saw marriage as a mutual love between a man and a woman, although women were still expected to obey and have babies, and the man was seen as the head of the household. The church's break in England came from a combination of religious and political arguments. Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife of 25 years, Catherine of Aragon, because he blamed her for not having a son and having a daughter Mary. Divorce being against the eyes of the church, not being allowed, the Pope would not even grant an annulment, as the grounds for annulment were not enough. However, the church courts of England allowed it. So he married Anne Boleyn, who gave birth to Elisabeth, and he had Anne Boleyn beheaded. He then married Jane Seymour, who gave birth to the short-lived Edward VI. At this point, the Catholic Church had grown tired of the sins of Henry VIII and excommunicated him. He turned the slap by getting Parliament to pass the Act of Supremacy of 1534, making the king the head of the new Church of England, the Anglican Church. His old friend Thomas More stood up to the king as a lifelong Catholic, and Henry had him beheaded. Henry then moved against Catholic landholdings.